IFA Center, and today is our second episode on Kids and Technology, a Parent's Guide. Kids and Technology, a Parent's Guide. We're hoping that some people can join us online tonight. We're hoping that some people would be able to connect. Some parents would be able to connect. Some kin parents would be able to watch this video live and be able to ask questions with their kids' use of technology. We're hoping that that will happen. In any case, it's a live video and it's recorded and it would continue on to play. Therefore, you can watch it at your own convenience. Okay, so like I said, my name is Abby May and I'm internet safety educator. I'm also a registered nurse by profession. So I started teaching internet safety about 2 years ago, but about 9 years ago, I became interested in the matter of child internet safety when my first child was about 6 years old. So I find somebody's with us, one person. Sophie, welcome. Thank you for joining us. So, like I said, I got interested in internet safety about 9 years ago when my son was about 6 years old, and I officially started teaching internet safety in 2017. Again, like I always say, I'm not an expert in this matter, but however, this was a goal driven by fear, basically. It was out of the fear of what children are possibly exposed to online that drove me into this act of teaching it. Initially, it was just to get education for myself and to be able to keep my own children safe online. But I realized that the more I studied about internet safety, it wasn't just about my child being unsafe, it was actually a global thing. Children are on the internet many hours of the day. Research is saying about 6 to 9 hours of the day they are using their screen, and a lot of the time they are on, of course, directly surfing or using the internet in whatever they're doing. So that was how that all began. So I started to teach the community these things and making them aware that children needed to be safe online. Okay, so that's kind of a little bit about me there. I do want to just draw attention in here to some alarming comments by the state of England. The state of England has declared that the internet is not a playground for children. And also the Vancouver Police Department. Vancouver is here in Canada, and the Vancouver Police Department says that increasing public awareness is key to protecting children, the most vulnerable members of our society. Online crimes aren't contained by borders, so it's very important for agencies across the country and from around the world to partner together and to collaborate to share expertise and resources. And I will add that it is important that parents get together and share knowledge and resource to be able to protect our children online. And that's basically what we are doing here today. We are together here learning on how to protect our precious, precious children online. So as part of teaching internet safety, we have been able to find an organization called the IFA Center, meaning the Internet Face Center. So basically our goal is to bring the awareness of child internet safety to the world at large. But we start here in our community, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So we launched a campaign about a year and a half ago. It's called the Internet Child Protection is Your Business. So this is what it looks like. So we have this flyer on our page there on Facebook, on the IFA Center page, says Internet Child Protection, it's your business. So the purpose of this is to ensure that every child worldwide surf the internet safely. Children relate with each other and with their environment. Therefore, if one child is exposed to advice online, every other child around them, of course, is at risk. Therefore, it is important that parents, child caregivers, and stakeholders strive to make for a safer internet environment for all children globally. Okay, so please help us to promote this campaign around the world and share with your contacts if you do love children. I'm sure you do. That's why you're here. Okay, and also as part of our internet safety and promotion and helping to create more awareness in our community, I hope there's enough light there. So we created an acronym for SHARE so that children can better share information online sensibly. So basically, what does SHARE stand for? So we call it the SHARE test. So if the share you are about to share or the post you're about to share passes this test, then it is good to share. So what that means is sharing. Do you have the permission to share, first of all? Then H, are you hurting someone by what you're sharing? Then the A stands for, uh, is it of any benefit other than just for fun? Right? Our children have to answer that question. R, report, right? Will grammar approve of this report? So if you're familiar with what we call the grammar test is when you ask a child to think about a situation and say, what will grammar think about a situation? So before the child shares the information, think about it. Will grammar approve of this report? And then E is empathic and ethical. So whatever you are sharing, is it empathic? Is it ethical? Right? We like for the children to answer those questions, and if everything that they and if it's all yeses to all of this, then it's good to share. We usually would say, is that acts as a guide for the children so that they can share sensibly. Because whatever you share online is lost. You are not able to retrieve it. Yes, you could delete it from your own profile, but other people can save it and use it. Okay, I see Jenny is with us. Thank you for joining us, Jenny. And I also see Nolene. Thank you for joining us. And please feel free to share this live video so other parents can join us. Or it can, of course, it can always be shared afterwards. So last week, last week was our first episode, and we talked about some concerns that parents have concerning internet use by children. So we didn't have a lot of time to actually deal with the solutions to those concerns. So I had said last week that I will be discussing those solutions this week, and any other questions that any parents may drop for us inbox. So for this particular week, yes, parents were interested in learning about those solutions to those concerns. So with that, those are the things that we are going to be focusing on today. I'm hoping that my volume there is clear. Like I said, this live thing is still very new to me. So just give me thumbs up if you can hear me clearly and if everything seems to be good from this end. And hoping that the light is good too. I feel like there's some rays coming from the side. Is it good? Thumbs up. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to assume that you can hear me clearly. So before I go ahead and discuss this concern, I'm just going to read a story about a principal, about his experience with his elementary school students ranging from ages 6 to 8. Thank you, Sophie, for that thumbs up. So the story goes like this. This is the principal now writing. He says, "Parents, I am an assistant principal in a middle school, grade 6 to 8. My number one job is to create and sustain school environment where both students and teachers feel safe physically, emotionally, and mentally, to teach, learn, innovate, and socialize. I take my job very seriously. So do my colleagues. We work very hard to grow in our capacity and to do this work on a daily basis. I can't begin to describe how much time I spend every day dealing with issues that stem from unsupervised cell phone usage by our students, now ages 6 to 8. In the situation where I have to search a student's cell phone, I often get sick to my stomach at what I find. highly inappropriate photos, videos, messages, social media usage, etc. The things our students are willing to try and be part of at such a young age gets worse and worse every year. When I call parents to inform them of what's going on, I always I always ask them how often they search their kids' phone. The shock gets even worse when 90% of them say hardly ever or never. And then they get upset at me, accuse me of lying to them about their kids' role in certain situations, or expect me to somehow fix the situation. So the story goes a little longer than that, and that is the story of a school principal, ages 6 to 8, and what he sees in the kid's cell phone. And I will share the link after this presentation if you want to read the whole story. But the bottom line is our children are very exposed to perverse information. Our children are following they are following what they feel like following because they don't know better, right? So that is why it's important that parents will get together in such a platform like this and discuss ways in which we can improve lives for our children, ways in which we can keep them safe online because they are online all the time. Okay, so we're going to start dealing with these concerns and the solutions to these concerns, at least expert recommendations to this concern. Again, like I always say, I'm not an expert in this matter. I'm just a parent who reads this information and hoping that I would be able to share my knowledge with other parents who are concerned so that we can all learn to keep our children safe, right? But if you do have questions, please ask me and I will be sure to answer your question. And if I don't know it, of course, I would always get back to you with the answer. Okay, so when it comes to search engine and what our, let's say your child brings home an assignment and he's looking for information online to be able to complete that assignment. So the recommendation here is especially when the child is less than 10. Now, I don't really like to place references on the years because it's not about the figure, it's about the maturity of the child. While some children at the age of 10 can make sensible decisions, some children by 11, are still struggling to be able to make the right decision. Now, you have to kind of work this out with your own children, knowing well what kind of information or how do your children understand things well, right? So, but the recommendation is below age 10, when you're going onto the internet to search for information, you as a parent should be the lead role in that particular situation. So it is said here that, well, when your child as less than 10 wants some information from the internet, you should, as the mother or as the father, you should take the lead and take the topic and find out those information for your child so that you are able to direct your child to the appropriate website that your child should go, right? So when you're able to find out that information, you're able to lead your child to say, this is the website I have found the most resourceful information and that I think that you should go to. So say for instance, your child goes there and is needing a little bit more information, but because you have done the research, you are rightly able to guide your child on the kind of on the website that they should go to be able to get valid information. Because a child left by herself or himself on the internet to solve the internet, say for assignment, say they're looking for information on, say, word development, right, or puberty. A child is going to stumble across different variation or definition or uploads about puberty, right? So you as the parent have to take that lead, right? So eventually you're walking your child and maturing your child to a stage whereby you've taught them enough to be able to go online and navigate it safely. That's basically what you are doing. Why the word in itself is big, the World Wide Web is even bigger. So if we don't teach our children the right way to navigate this web, we cannot fault them when they haven't made the right decision. And please feel free to ask questions as we go. Okay, And also explaining the public nature of the internet to your child is very important. And explaining that the internet in itself is public, it is open, and anybody can post information. It is very important that your child knows that. Let your child know that if they come across inappropriate things online that bothers them or that sickens them, they can share that information with you. And of course, children are not looking for inappropriate things online. I'm telling you that these inappropriate things are just jumping at them. With 30% of websites being pornographic in nature, children are not looking for those information. This information are jumping at the children. Okay, so uh, like I said, being the leader in this is very, very important. Being the leader is very, very important. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to be talking about here would be gaming. So when it comes to the kind of games that our children play online or even offline. Now, when it comes to gaming, I'll say the first rule here would be, is your child's age appropriate for the game that they are playing? Again, when it comes to age, it is family dependent, it is children dependent. Why some family are okay with a game that has been rated, say, 13 years, and their 13-year-old played well and they have no concerns. For some family, a game rated for 13 is a little too matured for their child. That is why I always say look at your child and look at your family tradition and values and see if this matches, right? Okay, so making sure again that your child is matured enough to play that game, right? And also another important thing is this, like if the game has a chat feature to it, if it has a chat component to it, see if you can turn it off. Like if you don't think your child needs to be communicating with strangers because you are playing an online game, it's okay to turn off that chat feature, that chatting feature. So you have to make sure that that chatting feature has an option to turn it off. And if it doesn't have an option to turn it off per se, you got to make sure that that game is moderated, like that it is being supervised. It is very important. Otherwise, anybody can come in and play. Okay. So, still talking about moderation and keeping your child safe when you're playing game. Activating the parental control on the game is also very important. And that way you are able to block and restrict activities that you don't want your child to be exposed to. And very importantly is to have access to your child's username and password. There is no reason why a child should have a username and password to say games or social media or any kind of app that they have that their parents should not be aware of, right? Again, nice to see you, Sandra. Thank you for joining in. Sandra from Toronto. You can share with your contacts over there. I know you have a lot of friends who have teenage kids. Thank you for joining in. Okay. So, like I said, there is no reason why your child should have a secret password to a game or social media account. Yes, some kids will do it, but if we come to them as we're parents and we're trying to protect them, a child should be able to let go of the say the password or the account. In the first place, we should be creating this account with our children. That's the expert recommendation. Not only are we creating, even before we're creating this account, we are actually reading the terms and agreement to make sure that we agree with what is the expectation for this game, right? Because if we don't agree with the terms and agreement and we go ahead to let our children play it, then whatever they get from it, it's going to be faulted to us. So it is important that we review the terms and agreement of the game and make sure it aligns with our family tradition and values and with our children's upbringing. Otherwise, they're going to be exposed. Okay. So when it comes to children playing game, when you're playing a game with console, Of course, random strangers can get in. That is why it is important. Turn off that chat feature if you don't need it. And well, if you think your child needs it, you got to monitor closely at their communication. What is your child communicating to strangers, right? What is your child communicating? Have you reviewed to your child different scenarios, different situations, in order for your child to be able to respond appropriately? It is quite diverse and quite perverse, the word we have there on the internet. So we equipping our children with the right information. Play a scenario with your child. Say, for instance, somebody is asking you, say, for your house address. What would you say, or what would you do? Or if somebody is making like pleasant comment at you, saying you seem like you be a good person, you seem like you be a beautiful girl, can I see your picture? We need to play these scenarios with our children so that they are able to respond appropriately. Also, it is important that we keep this relationship with our children when it comes to their internet life very open and very plain. It shouldn't be a matter of fear or a matter of threats to our children. Our children should be able to come to us easily when they have a problem online. And that has to do with the way we present this information to them. We can say to them, well, the internet is a big place and there are many people out there, and I'm sure not 100% of people are nice. Therefore, if you come across somebody uh, coming to you in a negative way, it is okay to come to me. You are not going to face consequences, neither am I going to blame you because you're chatting with them. That is not your fault. You come to me and we can handle these issues together. Also, making sure to let our children know that they have the right to block players when they're gaming. If you don't like the way they play, you don't like the ways they chat with you online, you have the right to block them. You don't have to continue playing with such players, even when sometimes they go ahead and threaten you. You have the right to block people off your game if they are not playing the right way. Like just like in real life, when we're playing game, we have rules that we need to abide by. So if they're not abiding by the rules, such as they're using inappropriate word and asking inappropriate things from you, your child should be empowered and knowledgeable enough to be able to say, you know what, you are not the kind of player I want to play with. Okay. Hoping that is kind of clear. Please ask your questions as we go, and I'm very happy to receive your questions. Okay, so I'm going to talk about apps, the kind of different apps that our children may download sometimes. Of course, these apps can be fun and they can get really creative with it. And but again, we also need to be aware that of course, there are some dangers to these as well. So when it comes to downloading app, our children should be made aware to seek permission from parents before they download any app. And why they're seeking that permission is not because you are not going to grant it, it's because you care enough for them to be safe with every access they are getting. Our children are very impressionable. Like it's so easy to get information into children, right? So you letting them know that you're keeping them safe. That is why you're asking them to seek permission from you. That is very important. Again, with everything you do online, it's very important to read the terms and agreement. Now I know those terms and agreement can be very lengthy. I was reading the terms and agreement of Facebook the other day. Of course, it is very lengthy. It's a whole lot of pages. But if we're willing to let our children take the chance, versus are we just going to spend say 24 hours maximum, and be sure what we are letting our children get into. I would take the alternative, which is to read and be before I let my children have those applications. Not only do I read it, also letting my children know what they are getting into as well. So when it comes to app, it's important that we download that the apps should be downloaded from the iTunes store or the App Store, so that you're not downloading apps that has been contaminated with virus. So that is very important. Also, be aware that some apps, even though they might be free, by the time you start using them, they have that in-app purchases. Parents need to be aware of this. And of course, if you read the terms and agreement, you'll be able to find out this information and then be able to educate your child to say, well, don't buy any levels. Yeah, it comes to a point where the game become intensified, the children want to do more. Well, before you get there, if you pre-inform the child that this is going to happen, they're most likely going to come to you when it comes to that stage whereby they need to do more purchases. Otherwise, a child that has not been informed really doesn't know what to do. It's just going to go about and doing what they feel is right. It's also a good idea to set time limits on app use or your computer use time for the children. You know, when you're having fun, of course, time passes by quickly. It's like that for children as well. So it is important to set a time for your children. Like I say to my son, uh, on the weekend, yes, you can play on your game, but you can't play for more than an hour and 15 minutes at a time, and you can have two sessions. Now, the reason I created that rule is so that he can give his brain a break. Because basically, when they're playing that game, the brain is not functioning the way it should be functioning, right? So that's our rules. 1 hour, 15 minutes maximum, take a break. And if you're going to do your next session, you need to take a break in between the sessions. So creating these rules with your child, of course, your loving mother in a loving way will make them to obey, and telling them why you want them to be able to take that break. Otherwise, when your child is playing a game and suddenly you come and say, "Oh, you have been playing this game all day. Now stop." Oh, they're going to be very angry because you're bringing them from a level that's so high up there with excitement, and you're saying just drop it. It's hard. So it is important for us to, give them heads up. You know what? It's 15 minutes left on your time. Get ready to put off the game and do other things. That way, you are pacifying them to actually be able to obey those rules better. I talked about turning off the chat feature on games, same as for apps. Really, if your child does not need to be chatting with strangers, just turn off the app features on some of these apps that your child may get into, and letting your child know why you are turning it off. Again, reminding your child that you are a safe person for them to come to if they run into situations online. And it's very common. We can think, oh, my child is not going to get into a situation online, or my child is not going to get into a problem online. The chances are very high that a child will be bullied. When 25% of children experience some kind of cyberbullying within a short period, there's every chance that your child may be bullied. Thank you, Brother Peter, for joining us. Evelyn, thank you for joining us as well. I see Sister Barbara, thank you for joining us. Sister Deborah Russell, thank you for joining us. And please share to your contact so that other parents can get this information. It's our passion to keep the children safe in this jet age. Well, because they are our leaders tomorrow. We want to have sane leaders. We want to have leaders that can lead us right. Therefore, we are doing all we can to protect them now. Okay, so the next one I'm going to be moving to is charts, instant messages, and texts, right? I've talked a little bit about charts already when it comes to the charts that they get within, say, an application, or charts that they get via social media, right? And instant messages also sometimes is tagged along with social media, such as your Facebook messages as well. And texting are the ones you do from your phone, which is regulated by your phone provider. So why all of these are very interesting, the chat, the messaging, and the texting. Actually, the average youth prefers to actually text than have a conversation over the phone. It is very important that we kind of encourage our children to still have these conversations. It says here that according to Start, kids are becoming increasingly socially inert. Simple communication skills are lacking in children these days, and this is grossly related to the way they communicate with their devices. right? This is closely related with the way they communicate with their devices. So face-to-face communication still does a lot for their young brain development. So it is important that we encourage them to still have some, talk, telephone talk, and face-to-face communication rather than the texting and all of that emojis. I see Kay. Thank you for joining us, Kay. Really appreciate. Thank you for joining us, our brother Niji. Appreciate. Okay, so when it comes to this chart, when it comes to this chart again, like I said, one can argue that it is safer to text than to send instant messaging because texting is done through your provider, while instant messaging can be done, say, through an application or through a social media. Uh, However it is done, it is important for us to let our children know that whatever messages that they are sending is lost. As soon as a post is sent, as soon as a message or a comment is sent, that is lost. It can be taken and be rewritten to hurt the child. Now, this is not. I'm not saying that we should scare our children from being free to communicate, but it's to be aware that that whatever they are communicating is something that they would be proud of. Say, few weeks or many years down the road. Okay, so it is also recommended here that when it comes to their texting messages and chatting, that it is checked that their messages are not that these apps are set are not default to the public. A lot of these apps are default to the public. So basically, say on Facebook, for instance, or a lot of these social media, wherever you talk or whatever you text or whatever you comment or like can be made public. But it is important for us to for the children to set it on private. Okay. So also let your child know that. Uh, Okay. So when it comes to communication online, again, like I said, coming across inappropriate things online, we do need to be able to communicate. They need to be able to communicate this to their parents. Being free with your parents. It's very important when it comes to the things they come across online. Your parents are your safest people to go with. If you have a problem online, you go to your parents. Research is actually saying that children are doing they rather go to the internet or ask their peers than ask their parents. But again, it is safer for children to communicate to their parents. And how will this happen if parents don't build the right relationships with their children? So I'm going to talk about screen names. When it comes to the screen names our children use, say for their social media or for whatever apps that they have, it is recommended that they do not use their legal names. That children do not use their legal names. Neither should they use names that describes the city in which they live or the hobbies or their hobbies, so that people are not able to guess who they are or are not able to trace them, especially for for sexual perverts that are that are out there online. Okay, so also discuss that when discuss with your child if they do experience any kind of harassment via text or chatting, that it is okay for them to stop communicating with that person, that they should not be pressured to respond to any harassment online. It's okay to block the person up or save those communications in case the harassment continues some other ways. It is also important that we should teach our children safe and respectful boundaries when it comes to their communications online. Just like you would not be rude to a person offline, why would you be rude to a person online? Uh, Although some children think, you know what, it's online, whatever happens online stays online. Actually, that's not true. Whatever happens online actually is connected to your real life, and it does comes to hunt you down if that decision has not been carefully taken. So I would say, well, if you're a responsible child offline, you would do more to also be responsible online as well. There's this term called digital citizenship. So it's basically encouraging children to be good digital citizens. Like the internet is for us all. if we make it contaminated, if we are not abiding by the good rules, it becomes a battleground. It becomes a place that is not safe for anyone to be in. So it is important that we teach our children good behaviors online as well. Okay, so kids should also be made to understand that any picture that they post online or video that they post online can be, of course, accessed by anybody. It can be shared again, or it can be redone and shared for the purpose it wasn't originally made for, right? And also letting our children know that when it comes to sharing and forwarding information, you need permission. You need permission from your parents. You need permission if your friend sends you a picture of, say, a nude girl. If you're digitally responsible, if you're a good digital citizen, you should not forward such a message. And if it's a picture of a young child, that's child pornography, uh, images being stored on your device, that's punishable by law. It is a crime. You should not actually even, if you say you open it without knowing, delete it right away, because it should not be stored on your device. Neither should it be shared. So the fact that your friends are sharing everything that comes across them does not mean you need to share it. When it comes to sharing, again, at the beginning of this presentation, I talked about sharing and the safest way to share. If you look on our page, we have this share acronym. Basically, if your child is not sure how to share, you can show them this share acronym on how to share responsibly online. It is on our iFace page. Please share this information with your little one or with your young children. Also, reminding your child that not everyone who is online is true, right? People are not always who they say they are or what they say they are online. So it is important that children know this for sure, that anybody can impose online. Also, making your child to understand that, of course, they should be free to come to you when they have issues. And I'm also going to just add that sharing personal information online, of course, is not a good idea. Even though we as parents will think our children cannot do that, it is possible that they do that sometimes, depending on the situation. So we have to let this discussion be very frequent in our homes, such as what are our online traditions, what are our online values, right? We will have a topic where we talk about what they call family media plan. Families are actually doing what they call media plan now. That's the recommendation, because if you think of the amount of time that we spend online, it's important that we actually have a plan as a family on how we do these things. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about camera and live streaming. So when it comes to camera and live streaming, uh, again, teaching your child the most responsible way to use camera is very important. Letting them understand that they need people's permission before they take people's pictures and videos. That's very important. They also need permission before they share people's pictures or people's posts that has been sent to them. Okay. So when it comes to camera, I usually would say turn off access to camera on your social media. Let your children turn off their access to camera. When they do need to post, then yes, they can open that and post. But just having a direct access from your social media to your camera, and it's always prompting you to say, "Do you want to upload this to Facebook?" It is a big temptation for children. So putting off access to social media, uh, putting off the access of social media to your camera is very important. And it's also important that we monitor our kids' use of this camera on a daily basis, just randomly checking through their phone and see how they are doing. And also, as parents, of course, we need to model these things. Whatever we're teaching our children, if you go on Facebook's safe use website on how to use Facebook safely, the big thing is parental modeling. We have to model how to use our phones. We have to model how to use this technology to our children. And also let your children know that the cameras are theirs and their responsibility. and they need to be responsible for any decisions that they make with your camera. Like I said, regular discussions, of course, are very important, letting your child know that they're responsible for their cameras, and whatever they do with it, again, is their ultimate responsibility. But again, we can't scare our children to the extent that they are afraid to come to us if a problem do arises. We also have to teach our children to be leaders and not followers in terms of possessing and distributing posts. Like I said, the fact that their friends are sharing a nude picture of a classmate doesn't mean that when it gets to them, they need to share it. They can delete it, they can stop it right there. And that is a sign of being a good digital citizen. I talked about not responding to hateful or harassing messages already. So when it comes to live streaming, a child who knows how to responsibly use a camera would also be responsible with their live streaming, right? So why it's already hard for you to take out posts that you put online, it's even harder when you live stream, because basically when you're live streaming, you don't have any time to rehearse within the time you're already live streaming. So we have to really caution our children around, bringing the camera to their face and doing all what they want to do, because again, it can be screen grabbed and used for other purpose that your child did not intend it for. Also, very importantly, as parents, we need to be familiar with the platform that our children are using. According to research, it said an average teenager has about 5 social media platform that they use. 5. So if our children are on 5 social media platforms, do we know their logins? Do we know their password? Do we know the activities that they are carrying out on those social media? Right? It is recommended that we should be friends with our children on the social media so that we can see what they're doing. Now, when it comes to doing that, we have to be very careful when we thread as parents. Because, well, if you're a parent and you're on your child's social media, you're very active, you're commenting and instructing your child all the time, your child is not going to be comfortable with that, to be quite honest. So the recommendation is when you are on their social media, you have to be there very subtly. You have to be there very subtly. You're basically just monitoring what's happening. And if they do anything positive, it's okay to give a like to it, but don't comment and like everything they do, because it's going to overwhelm them. A lot of children will go out and open a pseudo account that you have no idea, because they want to be freer. So that is very important note there. Okay. So again, now we're talking about live streaming. So making sure that your child, especially your teenager, understands the concept of live streaming, that it's not modifiable. Once it's already put out there, it's put out there. So they need to be aware of that. And also, is your child developmentally ready? Is your child developed enough to be able to handle the consequence associated with live screening? We have children. Having this healthy discussion with our young children early and often will make them emotionally ready for when they face situations online. Of course, we still have to be open to them and say, you know what, I know we've had these discussions, I know we've talked about this, but if you do have a problem, I'm still the one you can come to. So now we're going to move on to social media. I haven't seen any questions. I'm hoping that this is clear, that this is all kind of making sense to us. But if you have questions, you can ask now, or you can always ask in your inbox. Okay, when it comes to social networking, they say 80% of children between the age of 13 to 18, they're on social media. Why an average teenager has about 5 social media account, right? And they also say that teenagers are spending about 7 to 9 hours a day on screen only. So now where is this coming from? Where is this time coming from that they are spending, on social media? Are they lacking sleep? Of course they are lacking sleep. Is academics being affected? Of course academics can be affected from you spending 7 to 9 hours out of your 24 hours on just social media. Excuse me. They also say that 65% of youth says that they will feel lost if they do not have access to internet. So it is therefore important that parents spend time to understand their children's needs online, knowing what particular social media platform they are on and why they are there. So it's not just enough to say, well, he's on Facebook, I'm on Facebook with him. What is the purpose of him being on Facebook? What is he on Facebook for? What particular need in his life is he trying to meet being on Facebook or being on, say, Instagram or whatever social media site that they do belong to. So now, after agreeing that yes, they have a need to say be on Facebook or Instagram or Lively, now have you gone through the terms and conditions to see if they can really follow suit or if it works for them? In all of this, it's not just we're not policing our children. We are actually doing this in collaboration with them. Because if we do it by policing, I tell you, a lot of children they have a way around these things. They have a way around this. They have gotten smarter over time. Yes, they are our children, but they have gotten smarter over time. Okay. So when creating a social media account, by the time you have now decided, you and your child have decided that this is the right social media for them. Again, like I said, it's recommended you use a pseudonym. Do not use your legal name or a name that describes your city or your hobbies. So children need to be aware of that. Another thing that I also want to touch base on here is I've had a lot of parents have asked me in the past, well, I have an account for my 8-year-old on Facebook. I am the one who created it. It's private. She just uses it. She uses it occasionally for certain purpose. And is it safe? My answer usually is the recommended age is 13 years. So if you're letting your 8 years old be on it, you already are breaking the rules right in front of them. So if you break the rules right in front of them, what do you expect them to do? That's usually my question. There are other ways children communicated in the past, and I think those ways are still good. Yes, times have evolved. We need to evolve with time, but if Facebook is saying the recommended year is 13, I would say please stick with that. I actually find a lot of the content on a lot of these social media way matured for a 13-year-old, not a talk of an 8-year-old. So it's important that we follow those rules. Also, now talking about children who are of age to be on social media. When I talk about age, now age is relative to the child. Some children at the age of 13 they function very well, while some children at the age of 13 they need a little bit more help. Then you can work it out with your child to see if they are able and capable to tolerate being on such a site. Okay. So when you have decided that your child is right to have a social media account, of course, create this account with them, create that login and that password with them, making them understand that you're not policing them, but you're doing this for their own safety. And also make sure that your child's friends on the account are the people he knows, not just random strangers. It still beats me, and I wonder how a teenager is able to have friends or able to have 1,000 friends. Of course, they don't know all of these people, but they get friendship requests. And if there are no rules and boundaries as a family set around all of these things, of course, children are going to do whatever they feel is right. And also reminding your child that whatever they post, of course, and whatever they comment on stays there. It is their digital footprint. Whatever behavior they have online, whatever things they do online creates a digital footprint for them, which is accessible to their friends and family and future employers, and also, of course, also future schools that they might be applying to. So when it comes to, again, setting up this social media account with your child, privacy settings are very important. I'll say maximize the privacy settings for your child to keep your child safe. Reinforcing, of course, good digital citizenship is very important. Letting your child know that there are expectations when they are online. If they're good kids at home, you expect them that they be good and responsible kids online as well. You can't be good at home and then you are not so good online. We showing to them that we have a lot of confidence in them that they can be good people online. And of course, our kids love when we show confidence in them. Also, it's very important that we clarify what a healthy relationship is, because when they get online, they get into relationships whether or not we know it or whether or not we acknowledge it. Children get into relationships online, at different levels. So if we're able to help our children understand what a healthy relationship is, which is it's born out of love and caring and respect and support, when they see the contrary, they are able to recognize it as an unhealthy relationship, and they can get out of it. I talked about privacy settings already, and making sure that we are setting those privacies. Again, on privacy, when it comes to our children having their personal privacy or personal private life, they have issues that they want to discuss. Let our children know that the word digital diary, which is now a very popular concept these days, should not really be used to let out your secret to the world. The reason why you call it a diary is it's because it's actually supposed to be personal to you. It is important that they learn to keep their secret offline and not put it online, because you sharing your diary to the whole world, everybody knows your secret. It's also that face-to-face communication and conversation, like I talked about before, very important of the five senses when we are communicating face with people. Encourage your child to still keep a paper diary if they have things that they want to hide, or the things that they think that they want to keep for future references. We should not be online, because why that decision is good today, they may not be happy making that decision, say 5 years time. And by the time they go to take it down, well, who knows who has saved your information already, right? Okay, so after discussing all of these guidelines with your children, of course, you're going to expect, a higher standard from them. You say, to whom much is given, much is expected. You're going to expect them to do well, to be able to, go out there and be good digital citizen, to leave good digital footprint, right? That's our expectation. But it's also commonplace that people mess up, especially kids. They mess up. So we need to give them the assurance that they can come to us when they have the need to come to us. That yes, we've given them this information, this instruction, but if they do have concerns, that they can still come to us. So that kind of wraps it up for safety solutions to your parents' concerns. If you have any questions, please ask. I don't see any questions as of yet. So we'll be rounding up now. And next week, our goal is to talk about a question that a parent asked last week, and it says, he says, is it okay to just let our children use the gadget as often as they want it? And of course, we cannot know the answer to that. But next week, we're going to be dealing on why it is not good and how it affects how excessive use of screen time affects the child's brain development. There's actually what they now call digital dementia. So children are coming down with dementia in relation to overuse of technology. So we're going to be dealing with that next week, and a few other things that, of course, affects the children when they are on the screen all the time. So please join us next week again at 6:30 Edmonton time, 6:30 MT, for us to have another session. And if you have questions, you can leave your questions in the inbox throughout the week. We do check our inbox randomly to see if there are questions, and we can get back to you. Okay, any questions? Well, I want to say thank you all for joining. Thank you all for joining us this evening. We do really appreciate your time. And again, we'll see you next week. And if you like this video, if it was informative for you, please share with your contact. That's the only way we can save our children, who are the future tomorrow. If we only do well to save our own, and we leave our neighbor's child to wallow in this digital mess, well, it may not be a good idea, because they are our leaders tomorrow. So please do well to share this video. Thank you again for joining in. God bless you, and thank you for joining this fight to keep our children safe. Our hashtag is protecting children and securing the future. Thank you, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining. Thank you.